After ticket sales and enthusiasm for Memphis basketball dropped to maybe an all-time low last season, Memphis legend Penny Hardaway emerged as an obvious and almost even necessary choice to re-energize the fan base. Much of the discussion around the hire has been about Penny's ability to recruit. Not only does he have the name and NBA fame, but his own Team Penny AAU team. But what about coaching? What kind of basketball philosophy can we expect from a Penny Hardaway team?
As a coach, you know, my style, we're going to get after it. And I know that's what we love. We're going to play hard-nosed basketball, running, jumping, pressing everywhere, and winning basketball games. Losing is not an option in my mind. It's not. The way that we want to play, we want to spread the floor, kind of how Villanova did, kind of how pretty much the Houston Rockets play, like a pro style, open the floor up and just play basketball and then get after people on the defensive end. So you can always use another shooter. You know, you don't try to get guys alike. And, you know, you can always use a specialist, and I believe in shooters being on the floor to spread the floor out.
These are all things we would expect to hear from most new head coaches in their opening press conference. But after one regular season game and 2 exhibitions, is Penny holding true on those words? First, let's look at some of the personnel Penny has to work with this season. He didn't get the full recruiting cycle to really solidify a 2018 class, but considering the timing, he did an extremely good job of adding talent quickly. The 2 big-name freshmen he added were Tyler Harris and Alex Lomax. Both are quick, undersized local point guards who actually played for rival AAU teams. It was almost unthinkable that the 2 would go to the same school together, but Penny made it happen and both of them started the season opener. Here is Tyler Harris, who was 0 for 6 in his debut, with all of his shots coming from behind the arc. He looks like he may have a steep learning curve this year, but in these 2 clips you can see just how fast he is. Alex Lomax also struggled shooting the ball in his debut, going 3 for 9, but he showed great court vision and some really nice passes. Of the 2 freshmen, he appears more ready to make a strong contribution right away. This one-hand lefty pass to the corner may have been my favorite play of his. Last year's leading scorer for Memphis is lefty guard Jeremiah Martin. He's shifty with the ball and he can create his own shot. Kevin Davenport also returns for the Tigers as a high motor and versatile forward who can put the ball on the floor and has even shot the 3 at a decent rate in the past. So back to the original question of if Penny has made good on his talks of playing fast and pressing. We only have 1 game of data, so let's not jump to conclusions quite yet, but he did back up his words in game number 1 against Tennessee Tech. This is a graph of every single game from the opening night of college basketball last week. The x-axis is margin of victory in that game. The y-axis is the pace, aka how many possessions in that game. The yellow point on the graph represents Memphis's 15-point win against Tennessee Tech. The game was played at 80 possessions, which was one of the faster played games of the day. The average Memphis offensive possession lasted 12.9 seconds, which currently ranks them 5th in the country. Penny appears to be very player-friendly when it comes to transition. Memphis took advantage of the 3-point line early in the shot clock. Their effort pushing the ball for sure led to some highly efficient shots, but there were a couple of forced transition mid-ranges that should probably be limited going forward. Here's the same graph we saw before, but now the y-axis is turnovers forced. You can see that Memphis ranks even higher in this category. They forced the 3rd most turnovers of any team on opening night, and that was in large part due to the press defense that Penny alluded to in his opening press conference. Memphis started the game in a 2-2-1 face guard. Even if the press wasn't super aggressive, it just sped up Tennessee Tech and made them uncomfortable. This trap is usually a big no-no for a press defense. At the D1 level, it's hard to get away with the trap if the ball handler can see it coming in his direct line of vision. The preferred trap would be the trail or to sneak up from a blind spot. Here, the bad trap forces Memphis's defense into rotation. Later in the game, Memphis started putting an extra man in the front court of the press. This is the type of trap that I was referring to. Harris does a great job of cutting off the ball handler, which allows Jones to come from behind for the steal. On this play, Memphis gets a coffin corner trap immediately on the inbounds, and Tennessee Tech throws it away. From an X's and O's perspective, without watching, we could stereotype Penny due to his NBA experience and expect to see a bunch of somewhat rudimentary NBA-style sets attacking mismatches. And in this case, that's pretty much what we saw against Tennessee Tech. Memphis did show good signs in early clock situations, but the half-court offense still has a ways to go. As a sort of secondary break, Memphis reverses the ball into a throw-and-chase ball screen with the trail big. Notice how the ball side corner is empty. Here, the reversal is denied. It takes Martin a little too long to cut back door as a pressure release, but he does eventually end up making the right play. The three most common sets Memphis ran were roll-replace ball screen action, which was signaled with a head tap, a couple different variations of horns to exploit different mismatches, and an Iverson play that also leads into a ball screen. Here's the basic roll-replace action with one big screening and rolling and the other replacing him at the top. Tennessee Tech had this play scouted. Their intended coverage was for the initial big in the ball screen to stay high, knowing that the replace is going to happen anyways. I'd prefer to see more motion into this action. This should make it really easy for Tennessee Tech to execute their intended coverage, but the big guarding the ball screen stays with the handler for way too long. This forces a rotation, and to Memphis's credit, they do a great job of maintaining the advantage with ball movement. Here's the first horn set from Memphis. Traditionally in horns, you put your two bigs at the elbow, but Memphis was putting guards there depending on matchups. The spacing on this little elbow ball screen is not great. Penny was having the point guard cut to the weak side after the pass, which allows his man to get right on the nail, exactly where the ball handler is headed. You can really see what the goal of the play is from this clip. Memphis is focused on hunting for the right mismatch and looks like a high school team trying to figure out their spots because of it. Tennessee Tech actually ends up denying the pass that Memphis just spent almost 10 seconds trying to make, and so Memphis runs the play backwards instead. Another horn set they ran was a simple post sneak to go after a preferred matchup. On this play, the guards are higher, and you can see the secondary action of the set is a flare screen for the point guard. In breakdown or late clock situations, Memphis mostly just spaced and either isolated or ball screened. For the first game of the year, the spacing was pretty good, and that will be vital if Memphis wants to be efficient with this type of ISO action going forward. Memphis has one of their toughest games of the season Tuesday night in Baton Rouge against LSU. The talent level in Memphis is only going to increase as Penny goes through more recruiting cycles, but for this year alone, it looks like Memphis will probably be about a 500 team in the AAC. The commitment to a fun and fast style of play that we just saw will only help in the future with recruiting. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. There will be more detailed team, player, coach, and game breakdowns all season long.